Hi, welcome back. So this class is focusing mainly on when we feel anxious. There can be a lot of different symptoms that you experience in your body. Might be muscle tension, might be nausea, might be dizziness, headache, or just general tension. Fast heartbeat, accelerated respiration. So this class is going to help you to slow that down, to release some energy, to move energy into areas that will help you to quiet your brain and quiet the body. Okay? If you have a headache, there's one inversion we're doing where you're coming back onto the head. If it doesn't feel right for you, just build it up a little bit so that the back of the head, you're on the back of the head instead of the crown of the head. You'll see it when we come to it, Viparita Dandasana in 2 chairs. So it's a version of a headstand. So just taking the support that you need for that. Okay, let's get started. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe and don't forget to click the bell so that you are notified when the new videos are uploaded. Now let's get started. So we'll start in just a simple cross-legged position. If this is not good for your knees, then just take another position that's good for you, maybe Virasana. All right, and then we'll just start with our hands at the front of our chest. And once we close our eyes, we'll just focus completely on the breath. So focusing on your exhalation, let the breath be in an even flow, both your inhalation and your exhalation. So keeping the chest lifted, so the thumbs right near the sternum, almost that they're a little bit of a hook to keep your chest lifted, collarbones wide. Take a inhalation and exhale completely. And then just continue with an inhalation and an exhalation. So soft, slow, smooth inhalation. Soft, slow, smooth exhalation. Let go of any tension in your face, your head, your shoulders, and your abdomen. Keep the breath soft, keep the breath relaxed. Letting go with each exhalation. And then lift your head up. Bring your hands back down. And we'll stand up now. We'll come into Uttanasana. Uttanasana, just stand up in Tadasana first. So just feeling that balance on each side. Your left side, your right side. Front body, back body. As we move from the outer layers of the body, touching inward. The quiet brain, quiet eyes. Come into Uttanasana now. So you'll use blocks for Uttanasana. You can have blocks for the hands and blocks for the head. Okay, I have 4 blocks here, depending on what you need. You can have the feet hips width apart, and you can take whatever height you need for the head. Here the hands are just going to be resting, so depending on how deep into this forward bend you can go, then you'll adjust the blocks. If it's difficult to go forward, then you can have the chair and rest your head on the chair. All right? So coming forward, bending from the back. You can take the block up higher. Now, if I take the block up higher, it's on my forehead, so I want to be on the crown of my head. which is a little high for me, so I'm going to adjust that block and bring the head down. So you build the blocks up according to the height that you need. All right, so there's that as well. So I just want you to be able to stay there for a little bit. So have the hands supported so that the shoulders are relaxed, but not falling down toward the back of the head. So you're using the arms to support, lift the backs of the arm, that's the armpit area. Staying, again, stable on the legs. So once you're there, if you find that you can release the block down a little bit, you can make that adjustment. So as you press into the heel, into the ball of the foot, lift up through the arch, right up through the leg, inner leg, from the inner ankle, lifting up away from the heel, up through the inner leg, and then from the outer hip down to the outer heel. Roll your inner thighs back. With your hands pressed down slightly just to keep the shoulders lifting away from the back of the head. And then just let the back of the head release down. Come back to your breath. So you can feel that relaxed breath now. You can feel the breath in the abdomen. Just let the breath release. Let your head be heavy, supported by your arms. All right, and then we'll come up. You can take your blocks to the wall. You're going to use the hands on the blocks, and then you can have block for the head as well. You can either have the block or a bolster, so it just depends on what you're going to need. You can come into forward Virasana first, just to get a bit of an approximation for your length. So I can come back a little bit. And then I want my forehead on that block. So again, here you're going to be able to adjust the blocks according to your needs, according to your body. So as I press the arms, I can see now if I bring my head down, it's going to come a little bit further back. So I'm adjusting the blocks, and I'm going to turn that top block. So right between the eyebrows, I'm going to bring the block so that I'm resting there, and the skin of the forehead between the eyebrows is moving down toward the nose. So that's a more restful position when the skin is moving down. So coming into a quiet breath again. Use the arms lengthening. Have the hands on the block in such a way that you can feel that holding. It's less pressure on your shoulders with the more height under your hands. So using the hands, create that length through the side trunk. And now just observe your abdomen. Observe the breath. Let the breath be relaxed, soft, slow, and smooth. Just letting go. Letting the brain go, letting the head rest completely. Rest the breath. Take a few more breaths. If at any point you need to come out, then you just go back into forward Virasana and rest your head on the block. All right, and then walking your feet forward, come back into Uttanasana and adjust the block so that you can bring the head down again. So remembering where you had that, maybe a little bit different now that you've opened a little bit. So the crown of the head is on that block. Hands are on the blocks, lifting the shoulders up and away. Quiet breath. Observe your abdomen. Let go of any tension there. And then preparing to come up, you bring your hands onto your abdomen. Come up slowly. Just standing up. Bring your breath back to normal. All right, we'll go into Prasarita Padottanasana now. So you'll be bringing your legs wide. You'll use the block again if you need the block. If you need blocks for your hands, you'll take those blocks again. If you don't need them, so showing two ways. If you're going to use the blocks to bring the crown of the head down, and then you can take the hands. So the hands are such that they're right under your shoulders. They're not over here. The elbows are moving back so that you, as you press the hands back, you come onto the crown of the head. Okay, so again, you can have, depending on your body condition, modify however you need that block. If you don't need to use the block, I'll just show without the blocks. So your hands will be on the floor. You walk your hands back, and the elbows are moving back toward the end of your mat, and then you come onto the crown of the head. I'd like you to have some sort of block. I don't want you to be overworking in this pose. So have some support if you don't have a block, if you don't need the block. And I'm just going to have a little bit of support. I'm going to take a blanket. So there's all sorts of options. Here, this is giving you a little bit of cushioning. So don't strain in the pose, but be able to be there. And again, observe the weight on your feet. Lift up through the arches, through the inner legs. Outer hips moving down to the heels. Using the press of the hands to keep the shoulders lifted up, away from the back of the head. So you're right on the crown. The neck is long. Relax the breath. Feel the breath again in the abdomen. Release any tension in the abdomen. Keeping the heels descending, pressing down, as well as the mounds of the feet, the front of the foot. Lift up through the back thigh. And then inhale, come up, walk your hands forward. Come back to the breath. Press into the feet, activate the legs, bring your hands onto your hips. Inhale, come up. And just take a few breaths. To bring the feet back together, you'll bring the heels in, toes, heels, and toes. Okay, so don't jump. And now we're going to go into Viparita Dandasana. So you'll have a chair. So I have the mat on the chair. I have another chair behind me. So instead of using blocks or the wall, if you have another chair, you can just make it easy. Bring the chair behind you. You'll be bringing your feet here. Your hips will be here, and then your head will be on the bolster. I have an extra blanket here in case when I go down, I need a little bit extra support under the head. So I'm just putting that there in case that happens to you. You'll see you can do that. So I'm coming into the chair, and I bring both legs in, and I'm using the sticky mat because that helps so I don't slide on the chair. It helps me into more of a fixed position once I get into the right position. All right, so my hips are completely supported. my shoulders are coming off, and I want to bring the crown of the head down. Okay, so depending on your neck, if you have any kind of neck issue and you want a little bit extra support, you can bring the blanket behind the neck. Okay, so I'm going to ease myself down a little bit more, and I'm bringing the head, the crown of the head down. So I've come down, and I've come down quite far, so my shoulders, my back ribs are on the back of the chair, and then I'm on the crown of the head. So you don't want to go down too far that your neck is jammed. So just make sure that you have the right distance so you can be on the top of the head. And if you need a little bit extra support, bring that blanket behind your neck. But once you take your hands under the chair and get that rotation of your shoulders, you should have more space in your neck. If you still need that support, then you take that. It's only for those of you that have a little bit of imbalance in your neck. So I'm holding onto the chair rail, and with that, I'm pulling the arms just to keep that extension and that lift of the chest. Keep the feet, I'm taking them a little bit wider, just to keep a little bit of openness through the pelvis, and able to feel that breath through the abdominal area right into the pelvic floor. So just stay and observe your breath. So here, because the chest is lifted, you can feel that breath, but because the abdominal area is extended, you can also feel that length of the breath. So just stay with that breath. Let your exhalation be longer. Observe what you feel in the body. Let your head be completely released down. With my hands on the chair rail, the shoulders are moving away from the back of the head, so I have length in the neck. So that's important. You want to keep that length. From this position, you can also, if you have any kind of lower back feeling that doesn't feel quite right, you can bend your knees and have your feet on that chair. So whenever you're in this position, you've rotated your pelvis, the tailbone is moving down towards your heels, and your thighs are heavy. We'll just take a few more breaths here. So this is creating a lot of good circulation through the lymph area, but also through the respiratory system, the endocrine, where we are over that chair, right below the shoulder blade, near the bladder, the kidney area, which governs the bladder. So it's a nice overall opening and release for those areas that get tight and create tension. And then we'll come out, lift the head up. So now the shoulders are lifting up slightly. I think probably the best way to come out of this is to just hold on to the chair and shift your weight to your hips, coming up with a kind of a concave back. The other way, you could have just slid down, but depending on your chairs, if they're heavy or not, I don't want you to fall out of the chair. Okay? So I'll take the chair away and come out of the chair. So carefully going into the chairs, carefully coming out of the chairs. And I'll just move the chairs to the side now. And then I'll come into Uttanasana. Okay, so when we go upside down, everything goes upside down. So adjust yourself, standing straight. Come into Uttanasana again. So just coming into Uttanasana, hinging forward. You can have that bolster or have your blocks. Relax your arms down and just let the head hang down. Observe your breath. Observe the breath through the abdomen. Soften your face. Just letting yourself release. If that bolster wasn't enough for you, then you have the blocks like I showed you before, or you have a chair. And then you're going to come up. Okay, and then stand back in Tadasana. We'll do, oftentimes when there's anxiety, there's tension in the muscles, there's shortness in the breath, so we'll just do a few standing poses to energize a little bit. So you can have one block. We'll go into just a few standing poses right now. Utthita Trikonasana, Ardha Chandrasana, and stay just for a little while. Have some support, that block. So as I go onto my left side, extend, bring your hand down. You can have your hand onto your hip to begin with. Keep both legs straight. So this thigh is moving back, this hip is moving back, and then the hip is moving forward. Where we were over the chair, those bottom edges of the shoulder blades, turn, move them into the body and turn the chest. Breathe. You can keep your hand on your hip and roll that top shoulder back. Extend the arm up. If it's uncomfortable for your neck, just look forward, but keep the neck long, keep the head long. Press the bottom hand, connect into the shoulder blades, turn the chest, look up. And then inhale, come up. You're going to turn your feet. Take your block to the other side. Align the feet so the heel is in line with the back arch. Straighten the legs. Extend out through the arms. So keeping that open heart, body position, breathe into the chest. Exhale, coming down, back hand on your hip. Adjust that block so it's underneath your shoulder. Press down, and then press into the front of the foot, lift the kneecap up, straighten the leg. And as you do that, lengthen through that side trunk. Lift from your back ribs, right near the shoulder blades. Lift the chest, turn. And then bring the arm up, reaching up. Bring that right buttock forward, left thigh back. Have a few breaths there. If it's appropriate for you, turn and look up at the top hand. And then inhale, come up. Good. Turn the feet and bring the feet together. Stand back in Tadasana. So we'll go into Ardha Chandrasana, a balancing pose. So I think we'll use the wall for this. Oftentimes, depending on your condition, your symptom, with anxiety, sometimes you can have a little dizziness. So if you're feeling dizzy, maybe not do this one. Do Utthita Trikonasana again. So coming to the first side, you're going to use the wall just so you have some extra support. You're able to breathe. I don't want you holding the breath. I want you to breathe. Have the back of the head at the wall, have the buttock at the wall, and keep that back leg lifted. So I have the heel at the wall as well. I'm pressing the thigh into the heel. moving that left buttock away from the wall, turning the chest, and then bring the arm up. So you're lifting the inner back thigh, moving that energy from the arches of the feet up through the inner legs, from the outer hips to the outer heels, connecting the legs with the trunk. Feel the breath. And then bring the hand down. Good. Come down carefully. You're going to use a block on the other side. So have your set up there. Whoops. I don't have a mat here, but I'm putting my front foot on the mat. So always have the foot on the mat, especially for these balancing poses. So now this I'm using off the mat to allow it to slide. So coming into it, hip is at the wall, balancing yourself. Press the bottom hand down and open through the pelvis. Lift the inner back leg. Feel the hip at the wall, the heel at the wall, back of the head at the wall. With your hand on your hip, press the elbow into the wall, and with that, bring your hip away from the wall. So your lower hip away from the wall, your right hip, turn the chest, just look forward, and then extend the arm up. From the inner arches, lift up through the inner leg, outer hips, outer heels. Keep the head at the wall, and then as you turn to look up, feel the head sliding. Open the chest, breathe. And then bring the head down. The hand down, bring the foot down, come down carefully, and then just stand back in Tadasana at the wall. So reground through the feet. Feel the shoulders at the wall, chest opening, thighs back, back of the head, in line with the tailbone, in line with the heels. Just be there and breathe. Okay, we're going to use the chair for this one. We're going to come into Ustrasana, and you'll take your chair to the wall, like so. I have the mat there. Have an extra blanket. And I think I'll show also with an extra bolster, okay, just in case you need the extra bolster. So just have what you need around you. All right, so I have a blanket here just in case I need it. I'm going to take the bolster here as well. All right, I just want to have enough support. I'm going to lie back over this chair, over the bolster, for a little length of time so you can have what you need here, whatever is going to support you. So you might have to go into it first and see. I'm going to take this blanket in case I need it for the back of my head. But I want to come into this back bending position. So I'm bringing my hips to the chair, so that supports the hips from moving back. So the tailbone, the middle buttocks moves forward. And then I'm getting that little bit of curve. I keep my feet pressing down, the shins and ankles pressing down, and the elbows are going onto that bolster. Now I want to make sure that the tailbone is moving down. Even though the chair is pinned, the buttocks is pinned against the chair, I still want to move the tailbone straight down. With the elbows, I'm lifting up, and then I'm going to come back. So I think I could use a little bit more support, so I'm going to change this bolster so that I can bring it behind my back ribs, like so. And I have this blanket, which I'm going to refold and use that for the back of my head. So you could have an extra blanket, you could have a block, whatever you need. Okay, I've adjusted my setup here. I have 2 bolsters. I want to have the whole back supported so that you can stay a little while. And then this bolster is right behind the neck and supporting the head. So you can bring your arms wherever they feel comfortable. Here I'm bringing them onto the second bolster. Tailbone is moving forward. I'm getting that length through the front groin and the length through the abdominal area. Just using the breath to help to extend and open a little bit further. Just watch that your feet are grounded, pressing the fronts of the feet down, fronts of the ankle down, the shin. And as you do that, feeling more lift from behind the shoulder blades, from the back lower shoulder blades, lifting up. And breathe into the chest. So take a few deeper breaths. Also deepening the exhalation, so releasing it. Lengthening the exhalation. So no matter what support you took for yourself, just make sure it's enough so you could stay there for a few more breaths. If not, you come out, you make the adjustment. All right, and then come up. So here we had this nice opening through the front of the body, and we're able to engage the breath and release the breath. Okay, so from here, we'll come out now and we'll go into Virasana. So you can stay where you are. I'll just take one bolster and bring the bolster onto my heels and sit back on that bolster. Coming into Virasana. Lift up through the chest. So just stay here for a few breaths. Let your lower back lengthen. Extend through the middle back. Keep the shoulders down. You can bring your hands onto your thighs. Close your eyes. Take a few quiet breaths here. And then open your eyes. Come into forward Virasana now. So you'll have two bolsters, or a bolster and some blankets. I'm going to take this chair away. I don't need the chair. So I'll move it to the side. And now I'll have one bolster here. And bring that bolster right in as close as I can to the front groin. And then I'll take this other bolster, and I'm going to essentially lift up and lengthen over it. So depending on the size of your bolster, whether you need one or two, or just have one bolster with a blanket, I want your whole abdominal area to be supported. And then you can fold your elbows, fold your arms, holding the elbows, and bring the forehead down onto the forearms. So from here, you can feel the abdomen is moving toward the lower back is widening and releasing. And then just bring your attention back to the abdomen. Tracing the breath. Let your head be completely supported on the arms, so you're not lifting the shoulders up. Make sure you have enough distance with the arms away. Soft breath, relax your breath. Relax your shoulders. Come up, change the cross on your arms. Bring your head back onto your forearm and rest your forehead. Let the breath be in the back body so you can feel the back ribs widening. So you're not only getting length through the side trunk, but you're also widening through the back ribs. And softening. And then lift your head. You'll come up. You can take your bolsters away. Coming up, gently, softly, not disturbing yourself too much. You're going to come into a forward bend now. So Janu Sirsasana, and that's going to be a supported forward bend. So you can have one bolster or two bolsters or a chair. You'll start out in Dandasana with both legs extended. Okay, and then take your right leg out to the side, bending the knee. Okay, so this leg is externally rotated. You're sitting right on the Dandasana sitting bone, both sitting bones level. And then you can take your support here. Depending if you need more support, you can always have two bolsters and come forward and rest your head. Right? If you don't need to, and you can come down a little bit lower. You can always take your hands on the strap and draw yourself down. So with the support of the bolster, you're moving it down. Keep the arms lifted and supported on that bolster, and then come down. If you need some more support from here, you can fold a blanket, a little bit more height. You can also turn your bolster so that it's a little bit higher. Rest your head. So the bent knee side, the Virasana side, that knee is moving down toward the floor, and you're lengthening from your sacrum. Your lower back is moving up, and right in your lower shoulder blades moving up, shoulder blades moving in. Relax any tension in your shoulders. Let the arms be completely supported. Support the head. Now come back to where we were working earlier in Ustrasana, the back ribs moving in. So from the lower shoulder blade, move the back rib in. And if you need to, if you've lengthened forward a little bit more, move your bolster. You can also use a block. Just have that support so that you can rest your head completely, soften the neck. Soften the breath. Not being in any hurry, just let the breath relax completely. And then come up. And then come back to Dandasana. And we'll switch sides. So take your leg out to the side. If this knee is lifted, you can have some sort of support under it, a blanket. If it's very high, then take more height under your hips. Okay? In order to release that knee down, you want to have softness in the groin, and if you're creating tension in the abdomen, that will create tension in your brain. Okay? So have enough support, have enough height. So sitting on a bolster or a block, whatever you need. And then you're going to come forward. Any amount. Remember, I said you can adjust that bolster if it's not high enough. You can come with some blankets so that you're completely supported. So your inner thigh is rolling toward the floor. where the front of the thigh is facing up toward the ceiling. And feel that the pelvis is level, and then from there, just allow yourself to release. Again, moving forward, if you start to get that length and that release, relax your shoulders. Let the forehead release and relax and spread. And then inhale, come up. All right, we're going to do that one more time. You're going to use the chair. Okay, so this setup is with the chair, a bolster, and I'm sitting cross-legged. I'm sitting in Sukhasana, so sitting on both sitting bones on both buttocks equally, and I'm walking the arms up, and I'm releasing the head down. So here I'm getting that extension through both sides of the trunk, front body. Arms are supported so I can release the shoulders, and the head is completely supported on that bolster. Just bring your attention to those shoulder blades, right below the shoulder blades again, and move them in. So the back ribs are moving in directly below the shoulder blades. As you bring those in, you can extend the arms a little bit more and rest the head. So you're holding onto that chair rail, and at the same time, you're descending from the tops of the buttock down, top of the waist. Not the waist. The waist is lifting up, but the top of the buttocks moving down. Soft breath. And then come up. Without disturbing yourself too much, just change the cross on your legs. Lengthening back, extend the arms. Let the head release completely into the bolster. So you feel that back body moving toward the chest. Stay with your breath. And then coming up, sit back up. Okay, coming into Paschimottanasana now, extend both legs out in front of you. And you can keep that chair and bring your arms up onto the chair, support your head again. I have my feet on the back of the chair rail there to press against. So depending on which is going to feel better for you, you keep walking your arms up to get that extension. You can hold the hands on that chair rail. But I want your head supported, so I'm tilting this bolster. This bolster is more of a flat, wide bolster. You might have a round one. So I'm reaching up, and then I'll bring my head right onto the bolster. So completely supported, back is lengthening, thighs descending. And as I have my feet on that chair rail, I'm using that extra sensation there at the soles of the feet to keep the legs active without creating any strain. So as we begin to develop in our practice, we can start to bring the correct actions into the body without tensing. Tensing in the face, tensing in the abdomen, neck, throat. Just be there, neutralizing your breath. And then come up Take your legs wide down, Upavistha Konasana. And you can continue to use the chair, or you can, depending on your practice, if you have a little bit more flexibility and you want to go down a little bit deeper into this, you can have the bolsters there, the abdomen, either one or two bolsters, and then come forward. Depending on your body condition and what you're able to do. So thighs are descending, backs of the knees are moving onto the floor. Feet are active. And you can reach forward, get that length through the abdomen. So you're bringing some quietness to the abdomen, quietness to the brain, and just be there. So you have your choice. You can either be on the chair, you can be on a few bolsters, or one bolster. So take this support that's appropriate for you today. And then inhale, come up. So all of these poses can be held longer, depending on how much time that you have. We'll move on now to Supta Virasana. So in Supta Virasana, I'm going to show with two bolsters just to begin with. Everyone's got a little bit different capability to do this. So you're going to come into Virasana. Now, I'm using this extra bolster in case, especially if you need to sit on a block. So the block, if you have to sit on the block between the ankles, then you're going to need more height here. So I built it up. You could even use another blanket. So for some of you, you can just completely go down onto the floor to do this. So I'll show with the block first. So you're coming down. And then you're going to lift your knees and have your whole lower back supported. So here the lower back is not supported with that block. So in case you can't sit between the ankles on the floor, I'm showing with this block. I have a block here, and then I have a blanket. I have a bolster, and then another bolster underneath. And I have a block there to make sure that it's stable, and a blanket. Okay, so you may not need this high support, but in case you do, I'm going to show it, and then I'll show without it. So you're first tucking the tailbone under, making the lower back long, and then bringing the lower back down along that bolster. And now I'm going to bring my blanket right up to the shoulders. And just allow the legs, the arms to release down. So the hips I have against that block being supported, lower back is extending and lengthening down from the sacrum, lifting up. So you can just be here. So for those of you that take the extra support, you can stay in that extra support. I'll show without the block. So if you don't need to sit on a block, you can sit between the ankles, and you can come down onto the floor. And depending on your body, you may need this extra bolster here, but usually you don't if you're sitting directly on the floor. So I'm going to take one of the bolsters away and the block, and then just have this bolster directly behind me and bring it right up to the lower back. Now, it could be that you still need a little bit of support here. You can put a blanket there if you need to. So coming down, you'll come down onto the arms and then lift the hips and tuck the tailbone under. And then here the legs are lengthening. So I'll just show again with the blanket under the head. So right up to the shoulders. Shoulders moving down. You don't need to use a blanket if you've got that good opening in your shoulders and your chest, and you can just be on the back of the head. All right, so you may be able to go down on the floor without any bolster, but I'd like you to have that lift to the chest so that we can get that breath coming into the chest. And there's a little bit of a decline here, so there's release into the abdomen as well. So releasing tension in the abdomen, releasing tension in the brain, activating the legs so that you're starting to open up through the joints, in the ankles and the knees, and create some circulation in the lymph. So you can just be here. Thighs are parallel to one another. Inner thigh rolling in, outer thigh moving down. Feeling the shoulder blades and the back body, back ribs wide, chest wide. Just come back to the breath. So the direction of the buttocks is moving down toward the back of the knees. So the backs of the legs are lengthening. And from the top, they're descending down. So there's a heaviness there. From the lower back, from the sacrum area, the movement is upward so that there's maximum extension between the upper body and the lower body. You can feel that connection coming through the front body, through the fronts of the thighs as they lengthen, and then lengthening up through the abdominal area. You can bring your arms above your head, hold on to the elbows to again get that extension through the front body, all the way down through the knees. Stay with your breath. Have a few more breaths here. If you needed to come out earlier, you can come out and go into forward Virasana. You can stay a little bit. Just get the action of the tailbone moving down. Top of the buttocks moving down to the knees, thighs descending. Feeling the breath. Feeling the head heavy, completely relaxed. Relax your face. All right, preparing to come out, you release your arms. You're going to come up from the back body, so your head will come up last. You bring your hands onto the floor and use your hands, press up through the chest, bring the head up last and come up. Okay, and then you're going to come forward onto your knees, cross your ankles, and we're going to let the legs extend out so that you bring that circulation back in around the knees until you finally straighten the legs. And then we're going to take the legs up the wall. Viparita Karani. Okay, so this is a nice pose to finish your practice with. You can sometimes finish with this pose for Shavasana. So first we'll take the legs up the wall, and then we'll stay in this pose for Shavasana. Okay, so to come into it, you're going to come onto the front edge of the bolster. And I have a little space between the wall and the bolster, and I'm rotating the hips. So with that, you can see I've fallen to the side, and I'm a little bit on this side. I already started on that side, but I still ended up on that side. So I'm going to move my hips, roll the shoulders under, bring the legs close to the wall, and just allow the legs to drop down into the hips. The lower back is completely supported, and the abdomen is relaxed. So this is called Viparita Karani, which means still lake. So this is envision this as a body of fluid, which there is a lot of fluid there, and that is quiet. It's still. It's picturing a lake when there's no movement, there's no activity. So here, with the legs descending and the chest slightly lifted, bring that quality of a still lake into that abdominal region, and let your breath completely release. Bringing that stillness down deep to the pit of the abdomen. And with that, bring softness, a feeling of quieting as well as spreading. So from shore to shore, like a lake, the water moves from shore to shore evenly. Here, your pubic bone and your two hip bones and your top of your diaphragm all provide those borders for the abdominal cavity to spread, widen, soften, and then move down into the depth, down, softening as you go. Feeling that release. Stay with your breath. Follow your inhalation, follow your exhalation. Especially your exhalation. Let your exhalation go a little bit further, extending it. And now, if you're comfortable here, you can stay here for another 5 minutes or so, Shavasana. If you want to come out, you can bend your knees and take the bolster away, but you can keep the legs moving up the wall. So your hips will be on the floor, the legs up the wall, and then just relax your arms to the side, taking Shavasana this way. If you'd rather come down on the floor, extend the legs, and you'll do that. So again, allow the legs to just weight heavy downward. Just completely release the legs. So you're holding the legs as if they're one. If you have tight hamstrings and that's difficult, then just lie down in Shavasana with the legs on the floor. Let your exhalation lengthen. And then bring your hands onto your abdomen and roll onto your side. Rest there for a few breaths. Have your arms support your head. And then press yourself up. Come back on your bolster. Have your bolster and have it against the wall. And sit. Come into a cross-legged position. Just let your back be completely supported, your head, your hips, with your hands on your thighs. Keep your eyes quiet, eyes closed. Coming back to the breath. And just continue to observe your inhalation and your exhalation. As you sit up tall, keeping the face relaxed, but keeping the posture, keeping the breath soft, soft, slow, smooth inhalation and exhalation. Keep your awareness on your breath. Namaste. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've had a good class. You feel a bit more relaxed and have some tools for you in your toolkit to go to when you're feeling anxious. Any of the things that we did in this class, you'll be able to do on their own and hold for a longer period of time. So just depending on what you feel like, what your body feels like, what your mind is going through, just take the support that you need and just allow yourself to release completely. So if you want to have some more similar kinds of things that you can go to that are maybe a bit shorter, you can visit those classes. Okay? Take care. Namaste.